Hello, the Astroflower. Welcome to your collective reading for July. After joyous June, we appear to be apply in July. So basically, I think June was all about learning how to be joyous. If that makes sense. Made sense to me. And it's not as easy as we think, I think. So, and July is all about applying that joy. Applying that logical evolution, that logical progression that I've been talking about for the last 9 months. So let's get on with your overall reading. Energies, overall energies in the middle here. Karmic messages on our relationships or spiritual or emotional paths. Karmic messages on our material path. Weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I will be clarifying with the light seers as well, so we'll see what happens with them. Let's see what the overall energy is. Two of Pentacles. Yeah, I think apply in July. Basically, it's deciding. Energy is sort of saying now is the time to decide to apply your joy in July. Basically, it's time to get on. It's time to. We've moved into this new paradigm. We've moved into this idea that the general public actually has a huge amounts of power within their pocket and at the end of their finger. And what we choose to watch and everything like that. So I think in the same time, I think this is also applies to our joy, how we spend our time, money, effort, energy, our emotions, everything goes towards sort of applying what we understood in June in order for July to be a very, applied month. Let's just see what's going on the karmic message in regards to our collective in the relationships. 10 of Swords. I think this is that realization that the old paradigm is dead, done and dusted with. When we look around us within the relationships in even between, sort of big organization in governance and also in business and etc., the interaction that people have between one another, I think everybody realizes it's part of an old rhetoric. It's part of an old way of being. And I think now is that we've got to realize that we have to sort of say, no, that old world is finished. We don't want that world anymore, I think. And it can produce a lot of peace, harmony and happiness, you know what I mean? If relationships really work. So if you're going through a situation in your life at the moment, and it just doesn't, and it doesn't equate to what you should be living, that's part of the old paradigm. So I would literally just sort of say, I'm moving on to I'm bringing in my joyous June and I'm applying it in July. So let's just see what's going on in the first week. With the King of Pentacles, I think we have everything. This is it. I think collectively, and between you and your neighbour, your friends, your family, your partner, regardless, we have everything. We understand a lot more now in regards of how we interact with one another. We have this sort of almost security, this confidence of how we can react or interact with one another. The moment we realise that is the moment we can really start moving on. And in this first week, I think this is where it becomes abundantly clear that, it could well be that, one group is putting out something into the world and we can just sit around and say, do you know what I mean? It just doesn't equate with me anymore. Or, if, let's just say, I'm going to take another extreme in a way. Let's just say, you have some friends and etc. that you no longer, you no longer feel at one with, and it's heading towards your joyous sort of, applying your joy in your life will help that group to evolve, but also, may even sort of turn around and sort of say, well, I'm moving on. sort of thing. I've got a bit of a runny nose at the moment. I do apologise. It's got to be maybe have something to do with this weather. Oh, it's really changed here. It's got sort of very wet and morose, as you might well say. So in the first week, I think it's going to be blatantly clear the situation and what the confidence we have as a collective going forward to interact with one another in a completely different way. In the second week, we have the Five of Swords. I think as we apply this understanding and this confidence that we have as a collective now, and it is not a collective driven by one person, it's not a collective driven by one ideal, it's a collective driven by the logic, the natural logic, the common sense logic that is within us. And that means as we start moving forward, you might find that there's certain people that haven't understood the new paradigm, that haven't, didn't get the memo, didn't get the email. And, they may not want you to move into that new paradigm. So that you may find yourself that, some people are causing problems within groups across the landscape, as it were, across your social landscape, that are not worth fighting and not worth engaging with. It's engaging with the future. That is the most important thing. It's concentrating on the application of the future. And this sort of situation here is very much about this here as well. The Ten of Swords. It's dead, done, and dusted with. And I think this is just sort of certain groups of people you may see on the news or on the television and stuff like that, if you still watch the television. That sort of thing, where it's just not worth getting involved in. Because there is a degree of maybe lying, cheating, scheming. That's possibly what it is, because that's what that card's all about. And you may well feel that overall we're being a little bit sort of cheated on. So I think in the second week that's going to become clear who is actually moving towards a paradigm that is based upon fun and interaction with one another and enjoying life, and those who would just prefer to still remain in the conflict and etc. That's dead, done and dusted with the conflicts. It's the thing of the past. If we walk away from that, that's when we come into our victory. The six of wands here. We come into our righteous path. We have earned it because we've come through this paradigm. We've come into this new paradigm of the evolutionary logic, basically, as we go forward. And once we can start applying this logic, all of a sudden things will become a lot more simpler. And as they become simple and easy to deal with, this is where we're going to suddenly start feeling the victories of the applications that we make in July. And this is where we're going to start moving on. I also sort of said in the eclipse reading that I think July and August, there may be something within nature. So that might be something to look out for. We'll see that more, I think, on the material side more than anything else. But there's definite victory coming in here within the third week. And I think it's a collective victory, as if to sort of, it's almost as as if you sort of kind of say, oh, that's a lot of rubbish. Yeah, don't worry about it. We're over here, yeah. If you need us, we're over here. And walking towards happiness and fun and connection with one another. I think that's the way to go forward. And I think it's going to breed into us a clear vision of a world, of a new world, of a different type of world. The Nine of Wands. Yes, it's taking that wand there, it's going off on our journey, taking those passions that we have, leaving the 8 wands behind, which is the communication, the messages from the universe that make you as an individual feel like your place within the collective, where all of a sudden the collective now starting to make more sense to you. And those healthy boundaries is to stop you from going back to the old way of thinking, the old way of being, basically, within our relationships. And it's an applying month. We really need to apply ourselves in this month. And the moment we start doing that, you know, you'll listen to things that may go through the, you know, on the media and stuff like that, and you're just kind of going, it doesn't really fit with me anymore, and you'll stop listening. And, you know, and that's when you can start walking towards something that's a much more passionate, much more sort of vibrant, much more sort of constructive. And that's what the Nine of Wands is all about here. And that's what comes out at the end of July going into August. It's a real transition point. I wouldn't say it's transition. It's an application point. Yeah, that's what it is. We need to apply the idea of joy, of really enjoying life and walking away from complications. Let's see what's going on the material path. Now, the material path, this could be to do with the economy. This could be to do with governance, groups of governance. This could be to do with big business. This could be to do with technology. This could be to do with nature as well, because this is the collective reading. So let's just see what's going on with the information here. Because don't forget, this is the overall energies, as it were, for the collective. And this will apply for your individual reading as it's coming out tomorrow. I think you get the first 6 signs, earth signs and water signs. And then Wednesday there will be the air and fire signs. And it will apply to you over the month. Because we are affected by the collective individually. You know, we can't take ourselves out of the collective totally. We can start walking to something that's completely different. Yeah, true. But we're still going to encounter it at some form or another. Let's see what the overall energy is for that. Now we've got the Queen and the Queen and King of Pentacles. And our karmic path on the material side here is to know the security of our future, of going into this new paradigm, applying this logical, common sense approach to things. The moment we start doing that, we're going to feel very confident about the future. We're going to know how it's going to come out because it's common sense. It's not rocket science here. And I think here is the karmic message here is to apply that knowledge and understanding which comes from the Queen of Pentacles, where she sat at the base of the tree of knowledge. So she knows how the tree grows and produces fruit, and then when that fruit is ripe, she knows the cycle of the fruit from the tree of knowledge. So she's confident about how it will naturally play out if she applies that common logic, that common sense logic within the world. And I think it's going to be a really good thing. It's going to really start being very, very noticeable this month, the moment that we as an individual apply that common sense to the collective, and then the collective will automatically take on that common sense, that natural progression as we go forward. We're going to really own it up, earn it. And yeah, we're really going to own it. In the first week here, we have the Emperor. So the Emperor's fantastic because the Emperor in this position here, in the first week here, it ties in beautifully with the King of Pentacles on the relationship side. And I think both sides are inseparable at the moment within the collective because it's so well tied in with one another, the financial world as much as the emotional world. And the Emperor has control over his empire, physical control over his empire. And his physical control is what he can control within his domain, within his energy field, within his physical domain around him. And he has learnt everything about the physical domain. That's what he's conquered, and how to use his physical domain in order to get results. And that's why we stand in our power with this. So in this first week, I think it's a case of a lot of people will be standing in their power and just sort of saying, no, that doesn't work. We're, moving on to something that is a lot more logical and common sense, natural common sense, which is in line with everything in nature. And we have to start applying that in life. In the second week, we have the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is, the coming together of one plan, which is the Two of Wands on one side and a Two of Wands on the other side. And as these dovetail, these two plans here, all of a sudden, we get ourselves in a situation where these two people in the middle come to an agreement where a new paradigm is created. It's often associated with a marriage card and that sort of thing, but it's also the way of the celebration of two passionate plans coming together under one dimension. And this is what's in the second week. I think this is what's happening, and this is what may provoke this side here and these sort of conflicts that don't serve anything to actually gain anything, just serves almost more than anything else to distract us from our individual path and our collective path. So stepping into our power, look what we got at the base of the wands, Two of Wands, the base of the pack. That is what that is all about. And I think nature and energy itself is asking us to do this because we have this pole shift energy that's going in. And that is very much pole shift energy as well. It ties into the Wheel of Fortune, which I talked about on being the pole shift. And, how the energies are moving from one side to another, and it's concentrating on the emerging energy, which is really important as we go forward. So I think in the second week, it's almost as if like the economy is having problems and the rest of the world said, well, that is self-created by certain businesses or certain governance or certain groups of governance and stuff like that. They have created, so you deal with it in a way. Not our problem. It's not a me problem. That's a your problem. Deal with it. Sort of thing. And it's like you created this, therefore you deal with it. Sort of scenario. That's how the feeling I'm getting here. And I think that's the sort of attitude that people are sort of saying, I'm applying my own life, applying my world to my own life. This could be that nature thing I'm talking about. There's something coming in, I think, between July and August. So this is talking about the third week in July, talking around, from, going up to the sort of like, I think it goes up to sort of like the 26th, something like that, of July. It could well be a situation, a natural situation, which may cause pain and heartache within the material world. For sure. Once you start realizing that if you don't buy into the emotions and realize that it's natural progression, we can actually then help the rebuilding or help the people get through it. It could also be like there's another thing that's coming through at the moment that's like it's almost like a betrayal, that a lot of people may feel betrayed by the governance, by big business, or there may well be something that like a big business or government does something that makes us feel betrayed in the situation. And that's two sort of things that are coming out there, and they could well be connected between the two. It could well be particular between the two. I'm trying to see if I can get any sort of placement on the world. I'm just going through the lines here on the world chakras and seeing what's going on. It tends to be, I think it's like, it feels like it's an ego-driven thing. I'm getting the Ring of Fire, so basically the Pacific Ocean. and I don't get one event here. I think it's concentrated between Northwest America, America, going right through to Japan and going through to the Philippines, down that sort of zone there. It could well be, a volcano that's gone off, that's created situations, that's, complications within the Pacific Basin. That could well be it. Something to do with that, that's the sort of thing I'm getting. Because it's over such a wide area, it doesn't make me feel that it's particularly in one of those areas. It could well be, it's something within the ring of fire, basically. And then we get the Knight of Pentacles, and this is where we tie in with the Nine of Wands, going on that journey, getting work done, doing things, planting that field with the new logic that's going forward. Excuse me, I do have a cold at the moment. Well, I don't actually have a cold, I just have a runny nose for some reason or another. It could have something to do with this weather, but it's time to get on and do, basically, by the looks of things, in July. Complicated month, really. Application is always complicated because we understand something within ourselves, and when we apply it to the world outside, we're obviously applying it to lots of other people, lots of other situations, which has its own understanding and may not be exactly the same understanding as us. So, it's within the nuances that we can sort of adjust how we approach the world around us in order to get the best out of it. But it's applying in July. Apply in July. That's what it's all about. Let's just see what goes on with here. King of Wands. Did we get the King of Wands? No, we didn't. We got the Emperor and the thing. The King of Wands. I think this is concentrating on that journey, on that outcome there. And I think here is paying attention to standing in our power, realizing what we want, and going forward into exactly that. And heading off in that journey, standing in our power and heading off in that journey. That's what the overall energy wants us to do as a collective. It wants us to apply that logic, that natural logic within us. There's no Ace of Cups here. There's no Two of Cups. There's no Three of Cups. There's no Queen of Wands. There's no joyous energy here in a way. I wish there was, but there is no joyous energy here. But because, if you want to have a party, let's just say you want to have a party, and you've got to organise that party. So you've got to concentrate. You've got to get it all in place in order for the fun time to happen. And I think July is a little bit about that. It's putting into application the things. And, sometimes it can be a little bit stressful. But there seems to be work on the boards, as they say in French. There's things to be done. So, applying it and going ahead and passionately living our journey will be really good. Yeah, with the Ten of Swords, you get the Five of Wands. Disappointment from the past. I think this is a case of don't worry about the disappointment from the past. It's dead, it's done, it's over with, it's finished. Time to move on. Time to move on towards that cup that she's holding. That one cup in her hand she's holding. Absolute joy and passion as we go forward. And within regards to the relationships, judgment is... This is the problem. To forgive someone, you have to judge them. Yeah, and I don't feel that anybody has the right to judge another person because you don't know what they've gone through in order to get to where they are. There's obvious things that we know is common sense that we shouldn't be doing. And that's as anything of extinguishing another person's life. And without no reason, there is a definite, difference. And there is a case as well as sort of as much as, lying or even sort of stealing from someone. You know what I mean? It's pointless. It's a waste of time, that. And, just moving on from that, as soon as we can start being, honest, don't worry about the judgment. The judgment will come at the end of everybody's life. We all face what we've done and what we thought, what we've felt, everything like that at the end. I had a near-death experience when I was 22, and it is an amazing experience. Yeah, when you get upstairs, there is no emotions whatsoever. I know that sounds really weird, and you would have thought that, there'd be just pure love. I would say there's pure peace more than anything else. There's no emotions whatsoever. A total detachment. Because emotions is all to do with the physical body. Without your physical body, you can't have those emotions. So, here I think it's a case of just letting go. Don't get into the judgment and disappointment and everything like that. Just let it go and move on to the future. With the King of Pentacles, yeah, there is offerings coming in. I think this is what the understanding of sitting in our power, knowing this power and this strength that we have through the understanding of how we should, common sense, connect with one another. All of a sudden, we're going to be connecting and making offerings between one another without them having to go through big organizations or big governance and stuff like that. I think the people are going to turn around and sort of say, I'll offer you peace. And the other lot say, I'll accept that peace. Blow the people who are telling us to kill each other. That sort of thing. It's that sort of thing. With the Five of Swords, we get the Empress card. Yeah, control over our emotions in order to build something a lot better. She's standing with the sun at her back. And she has been guided by the moon through the unveiling of things that we can't, that's not on the surface, in order to create and give birth to a new world, a whole new cycle. And I think this whole new cycle here, as we're giving birth to it, is walking away from those complications and those conflicts within the world around us in the second week. It doesn't really serve anything for us. Let's just see what's going on with the Six of Wands. We get the Queen of Swords. Same thing here. She's got control over her emotions. Look, down in the bottom there, she's got a heart there. So she's got a control over her emotions. And she's not, the Queen is set so she's going in a direction. She's going in this direction here. She's not looking directly towards you, which the King of Swords does. So she's chosen a very particular direction, which is success, basically, and our righteous place, our collective place as we go forward, and applying that direction in life, I think, is really important. With the Nine of Wands, we get the Death and Rebirth. Yeah, I think this is where once we take that staff in our hands, once we take that passions with both hands and start working towards a beautiful, cooperative sort of future together. And that doesn't take anything away from competition and everything like that. And, fashion and stuff like that. And it just says, there's a definite respect that this is that new paradigm that's come through, and it's there and it's installed. And that's what the healthy boundaries are behind that person there. Is the healthy boundaries is the understanding of the old paradigm as we now move fully into the new paradigm. And it becomes a natural aspect to do. It's a natural way of doing, of just sort of saying, no, we're going to live life collectively. And we're going to live it in a very productive way. And we're not going to stand for rubbish, illogical rubbish in regards to emotions and stuff like that. So in the relationship side, in the emotional sort of side of life, it's having a lot of control over our emotions, which I think once we have control over our emotions, it gives our emotions enormous amounts of power. And that's what our power will be. Because we're not reacting to, knee-jerk reaction to anything that happens. We're progressing on it in a very consistent way. And when something really does not resonate with everybody, we'll make it known emotionally, and that emotional shock will have a lot more weight and power if we have a control over our emotions. It makes us incredibly powerful. Okay, on our karmic mission, we have the Queen of Pentacles. The cycles, it may well be that understanding that we've come through a cycle of autumn, if you would like, in the economy. So the tree of knowledge has shed its leaves. That could be the loss of money, that could be the inflation, that could be the loss of jobs that we've seen across the world due to the last sort of 4 years and stuff like that. But the Queen is noticing and knowing that after that cycle, spring will come again, and fruits will come again. And it's knowing that and heading towards that is going to build a lot of strength within us collectively, karmically collectively. And it also is like, it's there's cycles in nature as well. So within the volcanoes and earthquakes and stuff like that, that's natural cycles as well. With the Emperor card, you get the Devil. Devil is in the detail, I've been saying, because the Devil has come up a lot over the past sort of 2 or 3 weeks, and it's gradually coming to the fore. And in this first week here, standing in our power, almost being obsessive about being logically common sense. That's almost what it seems like, sort of kind of going, it's got to equate with everyone. And that, I think, what the Devil is all about. And I don't feel it's like someone's trying to get something over on us or anything like that. There is a part of that which could come out in that card there. But if you concentrate on that, that's what's going to be at the forefront of the situation. I think the Devil is, for example, cannot lie to you. The Devil will never lie to you. So you're only ever going to get the truth from the Devil. And sometimes the truths are difficult to swallow. But I think we have the power in order to sort of recognize the truths in the situation. And as he brings his light to the situation, it helps us to realize what we have been tempted in the past that no longer equates with us in the future. And we've got to start applying that logical common sense as we go forward. What is this Four of Wands all about? I think it ties into the death and rebirth here. Out with the old and in with the new. Ace of Wands. Yeah, I think we've been seeing the Ace of Wands with the Six of Wands, where he's taken the staff, the King of Wands and the Nine of Wands. This is where we need to literally be passionate about a future that we can be involved in. Once we're passionate about it, it's going to be great. It's going to be really enjoyable. But there is work to be done in July. We need to apply everything, our understanding about joy, and applying it in July will set up the situation where August, September, etc. will be very joyous months for us. With the Three of Swords, we get the Moon. This is when I was trying to sort of see in the nature sort of thing, it was showing me a whole basin rather than showing me an actual Pacific. Some things are not meant to be known. And I think this is a case of this. I think it's something that really just comes up to the surface very, very quickly. And this could come up as something within governance in some part of the world where we realize we've been, that government hasn't been honest with us, or that government has been, not been fair and not been good. But also within nature, it's like nature is a sort of, you will know just before the time. Well, animals know just before the time, I think, more than anything else. And I feel it's like that. It's a little bit like this here, this Empress card here is having control over your emotions. This is going to get us into a situation where we will have control over our emotions in the physical material world. And as we do that, we're going to realize that we've got a lot of work to do. And that's what that King of Pentacles is all about, or the Knight of Pentacles is all about. And we get the King of Cups, having a control over our emotions, getting on, applying in July, will mean that we will come to calmer shores. We're going to be a lot more assured about our future, a lot more emotionally mature in a way as we go towards our future. It's going to be heading towards plain sailing, or calm sailing, calmer waters, and etc. And I think there's a lot of work that goes on under the surface, because you can see that with the starfish there, or the sunfish as some people call it. And it's gonna lead us onto much more beautiful environment. I just want to, because I'm curious like that, and I know, and I just said some things are not meant to be known, but I want to pull something on the moon and that Three of Swords. I need to see if there's anything that can come out of it. Two of Swords, definite decision to be made, and almost like we need to step in. I think the decision is to step into our power, basically. I think that's what it is. I think that's what comes out of this is recognizing that something has not been good, and then moving on to something that is good. Sort of saying, okay, that's rubbish. Okay, well, we're going to leave you with that to deal with that, because you have created it, or that situation there has been created. We're going to move on to a situation that is a lot better. And it's making decisions which can be quite difficult to do. And that's why we need to have a control over our emotions in order to do it. It's not going to give me too much clarification on it, because I think in a way the shock is part of the lesson, as it were. But there's something coming up in that third week which is going to trigger a whole new cycle for us going on from there, where we can really apply in July. There you go, people. That's the collective reading, the overall energies that's going through everything. This is not really on a personal level, although obviously each individual applies their personal sort of stuff to the collective. And yeah, sometimes it's hard work. I've got to say, over the past sort of 2-3 years, sometimes it is hard work. But you're working towards happiness. And that happiness is a longer term sort of concept rather than just joy. And it's applying the joy which then contributes to your happiness, or our happiness. So there you go, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your support for this channel. It's been absolutely blinding over the last sort of 2 weeks. So fantastic to meet so many of you online, as it were. Thank you very much for all of that. Don't forget, your individual reading will come out this next couple of days. I will see you there for that. And then you've got the weeklies at the weekend as well. In the meantime, all there's left for me to say is, don't forget, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.